What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast. On this week's episode, we're getting into part 3 and our final part of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review. We've already covered their gameplay, what makes the game so much fun, the characters, and the story itself. And this week, we're getting into the end game, that Aerith moment, and what it means for the future of the trilogy. All right, we're back with part 3 of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review, and I'm still joined, of course, by Craig the Critical Nolan and Colm. Guys, we've covered a lot of ground so far. Talked about the game itself, the characters, the story, and on this part, we're going to hit the end. We're going to talk about Temple of the Ancients, that ending, and what we think it means for part 3. So I guess at this stage, I jump right in. Temple of the Ancients was our next chapter after we'd done the Gold Saucer bit. And it, from start to finish, blew me away. I think was my favorite dungeon in the game, and I always felt like hours.
It was going to be the final dungeon. And usually, final dungeons in Final Fantasy games are notoriously terrible.
Yeah.
But this one went on long enough and had good pacing, I thought, and had parts with the splitting up the party, which is one of my favorite things in this game. Just getting the players three
and
characters.
They always quite randomize them as well, which is quite
you'll always get every pairing.
Yeah.
At one point.
For me, landing on the island when you first get there, and the music that's playing, and you kind of Sid and Vincent are kind of part of the crew now as well, and Sid's like, "Oh, I'm not going in there," type thing. But when you first walk up to the temple and you see all the helicopters, and you cross the bridge, and I can picture that bridge so much from OG7.
Same.
Like just the artwork for that bridge has always stuck with me. So crossing it this time, I was like, this is so exciting. And when you hop over and it's nothing but Shinra soldiers, and I can't remember what theme is used, but it was had me so pumped. And I actually for a while felt, because there's so many
bad guys,
so many soldiers,
wave after wave,
and so many of there's the elite ones, there's the
soldier
ones,
class and second class,
and they're tough. I actually thought for a while, because I was getting my ass kicked, I didn't die, but I came so close on so many occasions. I for a while was like, is this a scene where I'm just like, I'm meant to be captured or something here, because it was so intense.
It's like the garage scene in Remake that just wave after wave of Shinra soldiers.
Yeah, and I was like, but it was so cool to finally beat them. And then you got to the opening of,
and he was playing the Temple of the Ancients theme for the very first time. It's the one from the trailer, but it's a really, really good theme song.
Good version of it, yeah. Colm, your first thoughts of Temple of the Ancients?
I mean, I can appreciate the level in the temple itself. Like, it's very good. I thought that the zero gravity elements of it were very cool, especially as I'm not a perfectionist in gaming, but like I do like to find out what's the main way to go and then go the other directions first. So like to try get all your items and shit like that. So like I found that I was doing that a lot in this temple a lot. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Like there's a lot of elements to that, climbing up ivy and little hidden chests. So like there is a lot of nice things about the temple, but as much as I like the idea of killing enemies and then gathering their fucking essence to then get a land bridge to appear and all, I found that whole just rotate your analog stick to get a new area. But
it's like we talked with the L2 where it's just more of that,
and kind of I like
you could easily have just had it press triangle once and it's done.
The game was notorious for mini games, so if we're just the game just forever just introduced you to a new mechanic.
Secret loading screens, aren't they? Really, I think is what's happening there, because even when you're spinning the wheel with air, it's like a whole area is being created as you're doing that.
And you can't move either. It's kind of
it's just to kind of delay you for
a
a few seconds while we just generate that. You know? So they have to do some sort of animation. It's like when you're opening a door and it opens slowly.
One of my favorite things about this part as well is because Cloud at this stage is kind of still hell-bent on the black material.
He's so dark in the Temple of the Ancients.
And it's awesome. It's so cool.
It's so cool.
But he's even quoting Sephiroth and using his voice, and the characters still don't know.
But that's what I love about it, is that they're just like, Cloud's losing it, but we know it's like, no, he's degrading.
I know, but they should also know. They've seen enough,
Yeah, possibly. But it's when the party splits, and we just kind of said it's like, your favorite part when the party does split and you get to play as other characters. At that moment when Aerith is trying to practice this skill that we just talked about for the first time, and she accidentally sends her section of the ruin that they're in, or the temple that they're in, away, so you're left with Cloudbard and Tifa and Aerith, Red and Yuffie, which was a team that I really enjoyed as well. But I love the fact that like Tifa was like, hey, we got to go save them. And Cloud was like, they've got Aerith. We have to get the materia. And I was like, that's the first time that Cloud has been like, I'm not going to care for Aerith. It's the beginning of like Sephiroth really getting a grip on him. And I was, the whole time they like, knowing that happened, and I played through the rest of the temple with Cloud. And anytime he had any sort of interaction or said anything, I was like, I am loving Dark Cloud.
Were you?
I was always worried. I was scared.
I was always terrified, and what annoyed me is just because I knew the other characters weren't going to do anything, so I was just like, he could kill any of us, and the Yulgis would probably just stand there and let it happen, like, you know, like especially after you killed that soldier who was begging for his life, and Cloud just murks him, but not only does he murk him, he delivers the exact same monologue that Sephiroth just did, so it's clearly Sephiroth like manipulating him, but like Tifa and Barrett just kind of look at him but don't do anything. So when it came to that happening to Elena, I was shocked that Tifa suddenly had a conscience, you know.
But Tifa saw this happen before as well, like earlier in the game. Like she sees Cloud, like, now she might not recognize it over time, but like Cloud adopts the Sephiroth pose and then he like kills a load of soldiers and then he like, that's when it leads to him attacking her and she falls into the live stream. So she's seen him like basically adopt the Sephiroth like pose, kill loads of people viciously, and then turn on her. Then she sees him do this to Elena, and still she hasn't like called out the red alert flags. Like, they're about to get the black materia, and Cloud's gonna hang on to it. Red alert fucking flags, Tifa. Come on.
And it is a massive plot hole in the story, because...
But in the OG, it's not obvious that Cloud is under influence at all. But in this, it's hammered in constantly.
And I think like the problem with the fact that no one stops Cloud, and especially at this point in the game, is that there's so much on the line now. They all kind of have an idea what the black materia is. It's not good for anybody, but like we have to protect it. But at the same time, we have so much work to do. Like, we have to stop Sephiroth. We have to make sure that he doesn't do anything bad and save the world, essentially. And there's so much on the line, and no one's saying that there's a giant fucking liability in this team, which is Cloud, who is acting really fucked up for so much of the time. And no one has stepped in to be like, okay, we really need to get this under control because we have a lot of shit to do. And I know it's like a video game, whatever, and they're holding on to the very last minute for when everyone figures it out, blah, blah, blah. But I've been at so many parts been like, this is criminal. This is criminal.
I wish there were less moments of Cloud going insane in front of the others. Like maybe high, like, because I like the way he hid the black materia at the end. But I mean, show a little of that stuff when the characters aren't right there, and that's fine. But don't, because it weakens the other characters if they're constantly just ignoring
allowing this thing to happen. So we got the two teams. Two kind of have very different kind of roles to play. It's kind of a bit more puzzly with Aerith, Yuffie, and Red, and it's a bit more kind of fucking powerhouse with the other three.
And visually, like, it is a fucking very cool one. Like, there's a moment where you're just running through the temple early enough on, and as you're running, you just see a load of like Shinra soldiers getting sucked horizontally through the level, and you're just like, everyone's like, what the hell? And then later, as you go on and you start reversing the gravity and all, and then you make that journey yourself, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I like that.
So in the original game, Shinra steal the Temple of the Ancients key, and then Tessin goes to use it, and he gets stabbed by Sephiroth, and then Shinra are beaten. That's the end. Tessin, I guess, was the only guy who was going to go in there, and that's it. Whereas in this game, you see Rufus getting all his military together in fucking wave after wave, ship after ship. And I was worried that the second we get into the Temple of the Ancients, we're just going to kill like 5 or 6 guys who are guarding the door, and then that's it, Shinra are beaten. But I absolutely loved how in every section of this Temple of the Ancients, Shinra are there, and they're getting fucked up.
By
they're getting killed left, right, and center constantly. Like, so it is awesome to see that it wasn't just a couple of soldiers.
It gave me such Indiana Jones feelings. Like, you know, when they're trying to race to get the prize, and it's like,
it was so like that.
I had so much, because I knew there was a lot on the line, and of course I know what's coming in the games when I'm playing through this, but I'm always a bit tense, being like, oh, I don't know about this because I know what's about to come. But the game, because it's been so much fun the entire way, they still managed to capture that bit of like, I'm kind of in an Indiana Jones film right now, a race to the
There's even a moment where Barrett's looking down at Rude and Reno like surviving. He's like, let's just stand up here and wait a while, you know? And Klaus is like, we don't have time, let's go. But I stood there for a long time just trying to see what was going to happen in that fight. Like, would the Turks lose?
And I think my favorite section in the Temple of the Ancients was the fact, because I thought the Turks were done phenomenally well throughout the entire game. All the battles with the Turks were great, but the fact that we knew Reno was now back in the crew, because we see him getting the team ready at the start of the temple, and I was like, oh, cool, right? But then you've got Reno and Rude back at it as teammates, and they fight Cloud and Tifa and Barrett. Unbelievable fight, unbelievable cutscene. But at the same time, then you've got Elena, who's like the new blood, teaming up with Sung, and she's like, okay, I got to show my best because this is the boss, essentially. And even their relationship is great because they've practiced moves together and shit. And
they're in sync with their attacks. It's cool, like you've partners and partners, you know.
Yeah.
So Rude and Elena weren't the original team.
Yeah, and it's just done so well. Like the fight with and it was a really, I don't know if you guys remember this, how weird the fucking animation thing was when it went to like 3 hours earlier. Remember all those weird clocks and cogs spinning?
Well, that was just a throwback to at the Temple of the Ancients, where there was an actual clock which sent you to different locations, which they didn't include in this game. So they just used a clock to show.
And it was really, it felt really weird. Like
it
really
was weird because like the scene happened where Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett beat the Turks, and then Aerith, Yuffie, and Nanaki are already there, and they're like, "Hey guys, good to see you again." And then it cuts back to what Aerith, Nanaki, and Yuffie did, and I was like, "Well, I guess that means I can't lose." Because I already showed up at the end. Like, So it was weird to like be somewhere before I'd actually done it.
It was a weird thing, but I found it quite exciting because when I immediately switched over to them, I was like, "Ooh, how do I end up there? Like, what do I do in the meantime?" Like, and the bit where Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa are fighting the Turks, and Cloud gets knocked off, but at that same time, Aerith learned how to manipulate the temple, and then she saves him. And how that was done, I was like, I'm loving all of this. Like, you know,
especially cool how he used Braver and broke the ground, and everyone just fell.
Gravity smash,
so
D&D style. There's a great moment where you're fighting Reno and Rude, I think it is, and like you're with Cloud's party anyway, but you just jump off like a cliff, and then the Turks are fighting monsters, and then you fight the monsters with the Turks, and when the monsters are defeated, then the Turks just kind of like after a pause, they just kind of like engage with you. Then it's
a full cutscene.
It's done.
They're
so
just
well.
Such cool characters. That's why I was really disappointed that Reno didn't make, because he's my favorite of the Turks.
Yes,
but Rude is definitely the main Turk in this game.
Yeah,
like, you know, he gets way more screen time, even though Reno had the most screen time in the original game. Like, but like the fact is, especially when you go to Gongaga and you fight Rude and Elena again in the Proto Relic thing. Yeah. As soon as that fight happened, I went, "Oh, you're not going to get to fight Reno in this game." Because they would have had it already at Gongaga or at Junon.
As an old training exercise.
Because it's weird that like I fought Reno and Rude and Elena like 3 times now. But I still haven't seen Reno. So I was like, okay, they mustn't have the boss because that's why they're not showing him. But then he shows up at the end for this excellent boss battle with Rude. I was like, where were you this whole game? You're my favorite character.
And the animations of like him and Cloud fighting each other, but it's like both have gotten better. Like it was such a throwback to like the church.
Yeah, where they fought for the first time. That was also one of my favorite sequences in Remake. Just Reno versus Cloud in the church.
Yeah. Did you also fight him in like the kind of bullpen or whatever it is just off to the side of Aerith's house?
That was Rude.
That was
fought him there.
Rude.
Yeah,
that was good.
So yeah, we kind of get there. The team's back and they, enter, I suppose, the what is the place to the trials essentially that they need to do to open the rest of the.
Well, first you see Sephiroth and Sung.
Oh yes, sorry. So when just before they take that trial, Sung is there to figure out. And for some reason, as we said earlier, there's just a robed guy just there randomly, just convenient for
just
Sephiroth to appear
by himself.
Yeah, and we get the scene where he stabs Sung, and Aerith comes up to him. And there's that nice little bit where kind of Aerith thanks him and was like, "You were kind to me, given everything that was going on." And I was like, that was just a nice little
because they took out the slap from the OG game.
Yeah,
in Remake, he slaps her in the face when she tries to say that Marlene is safe. Whereas in this game, they didn't show that. They're trying to make Sung a better guy.
Yeah, which was I enjoyed that.
And like in the OG Sung, you didn't realize if he lived or died. It was only with Advent Children that he's just in it that you were like, he lives.
I assumed he had died the same way I assumed Rufus had died.
And then in this though, like you actually see like he's like, he's in a really bad shape, and he just puts his hand on his wound and just stands up. He's like, I have a report to make, and just starts walking off.
It's
like, that's fucking badass.
Yeah, it was like you would definitely. So cool. Anytime Sephiroth touches anyone, you're like, well, they're dead. Like that's.
But Song survives.
He just gets up and walks it off.
The trial section where they all had to go to trial, and this part, this is like was leaning into the Cloud, fucking Dark Cloud bit heavy, that I was like, this is getting so cool. But each of their individual trials, amazing and so dark. Like Red 13s especially. So each character individually has to go into this place and face their, I suppose, the worst.
Hojo's lab.
He's in Hojo labs just getting experimented on and tortured.
He's crawling across the room.
And you
in
have
really
to,
slow
he's
fucking
trying to like hold on.
Yeah, and I would like that was one of the times that was a stupid version of the hold the L2, hold the R2.
I told you it's sprinkled in everywhere.
But there's one part
that was probably
great.
one of the better uses of it though, because I was like dreading it, so I like the way it's slow.
There is one part that's great, which we'll get to. I love those buttons for this part. I was giddy when I was doing this, but we'll get to it. No, but the trial. So Red 13s was phenomenally sad, and I was like, oh, that's so dark. And then we got to kind of, which was a bit of a dud, Yuffie's one with Sonon, which I was like, hey, Sonon didn't really mean a whole lot to me. He still doesn't.
I still like that they had the railings thing.
Yeah.
Yuffie's little like jump and that running animation.
That was quite sweet, because she is like a 16, 17-year-old kid, and it's like this person who was her protector, who she is sad that's gone, like his ghost was just running away, and like her whole thing was she was trying to catch up, or I played it like I was trying to catch up, and I was like, that one was quite sad, but it was.
But then she just sees the guy, and then that's it.
Like, so then we go on to Tifa's, which was just kind of a rehash of what we all know was her moment, which is with her dad and all that kind of stuff. Then Barrett's moment. Oh my! Barrett's one.
Well, you finally got to see Barrett's wife.
Yeah,
and he had never once even mentioned her ever.
Yeah,
like it's always Marlene that gets mentioned.
Yeah.
I was like, does she even exist in this? Because in OG he mentions her, but in remake, not until that moment did he even mention her before.
Dine has a conversation when it's doing the Dine
he's like,
throwbacks.
oh, he's here. Is such and such with you? But Barrett never mentions her.
No, he doesn't. Yeah,
and you see her then, in that flashback.
And he has like the first part of it is where he has his arm back, and he just makes his facial expression, like you can see like the loss that he even feels for the fact that he lost his arm. Like the head of face animated is animated.
Barrett's voice actor is the best in terms of raw emotion.
Yeah, he's so good. But to see like to have that where he has the chat with his wife when he goes out, and then he's reliving the reactor explosion, and he goes back to the house and she's dead, and I was like, this is, and I wasn't expecting that. I was prepping myself up for like the Aerith moment, and then this was hitting me, and I was like, guys, I don't need this. Like I know what I have to come or whatever. And then we have Aerith's one where you play as Kid Aerith, and that
trying
was
to get help from everyone. Nobody did anything.
No, it was heartbreaking.
Doing that, I was even just going like, I hate that I have to run around, find somebody and bring them back just for the mother to be already dead.
Yeah.
And then it didn't go that way exactly. Like it's Elmira you find, and then obviously like she's just now has to take care of Aerith.
Yeah.
She just walked over to her dead mother being like, please mind my daughter.
Yeah.
Well, with her last bit of strength, she like looks into her eyes and is like, please take Aerith safe. And like that took everything. Like she had nothing left, but like that took everything.
That was so like I made light of it there, but that was so emotional. I was just like, oh my god.
Because you're playing as child Aerith, and that's what's the really hard part, because you see it from the perspective of a child, really, because you're playing as her and you're asking for the help and you're not getting it. And I'm like, she's
crying while walking back. It's like, no, I have to get back to my mommy.
I have like almost 200 pictures from my playthrough. I took so many, like they're so good. Well, one of my favorites, because it's so sad, is that I have a shot from like underneath kind of Aerith as a kid. So it's like the steel sky of Midgar, and it's just her crying into her arms, and I was like, this game is just hitting me in ways that I never expected.
And it's mad because Elmira immediately takes her away, and the next train that arrived, all the Shinra soldiers and all the
that's how close they were.
And it's like, oh shit, they were gonna get caught, like, you know. So good, so emotional.
But then Aerith comes out and she realizes that everyone's incredibly sad, and I think her speech here, in my opinion, has really good importance for the story when I'm going in like deep diving into like my theories.
Out of everyone who's experienced loss, she's experienced the most loss, and she's the one who kind of has despite her loss, she's always the one who has the smile on her face.
Yeah.
And so even in this situation where her situation was every bit as bad as everyone else's, but she's still the one to try and bring everyone together.
Rally them.
And she's talking about how happiness is important and that they can't succumb to loss or anything like that, because that's what Sephiroth kind of wants, is that like to break people and everything. And she's given this speech, and then Cloud just goes, are we done?
Are you done already?
Oh, and I was like, I could slap you so hard in the face, Cloud.
Like, I can't believe I'm controlling you right now.
You, sir, are the worst. But that broke my heart, because I was like, shit, we have entered dick mode, Cloud, like, and we're not getting out of it for a while. So then we get to go into the part where we're kind of just going through a bit more of the dungeon, but it's explaining the history of the Cetra and kind of what happened and all that kind of part. We spoke about it at the beginning. How amazing that was just to develop them as a people. And then finally we get to the point where they're so deep into the cavern that they find the black materia. And in classic Indiana Jones style, I thought this piece was brilliant. I was like having so much fun, because they're all discussing, should we take it, shouldn't we? Cloud's fucked up, he just grabs it, screw the consequences. The temple begins to
he just doesn't compute what's going to happen at all.
No.
And even like when they're all planning, what are we going to do now? He's just holding it, looking at it, paying no attention to everyone.
And he's just
Barrett
gone.
tries to pull it back, and Cloud's like, "That's mine." He just won't let go. It's like Gollum, Lord of the Rings.
And I have to say, the Kate Sit return moment was quality. I loved that he came in and had that little moment with everybody, and then threw himself under the altar thing to give them the time to leave. And like, we all knew it didn't matter because he's like, I knew that we get another. Well, if it's going by OG,
but at least this time he wasn't like, "Please, remember me," and all this type of, like, he was just like, "I'll do it, guys. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, he wasn't. But that part I thought was brilliant, and it kept cutting back to him. Like, well, they were all running. It kept cutting back to him, just having a little monologue.
Shouldn't have skipped leg day.
It's just so good, and like, there's so much on the line, but that level of his humor is just so perfect in there. He is not the most fun to play as, but was a great character in all of the scenes. I don't think he had a bad scene.
He didn't at all. Like,
Colm, what did you think of our next scene where we get the black materia, we get out, and the temple disappears, and we get our first moment of Cloud going against Aerith and the team?
Just remind me of, so as soon as the temple.
I'll explain what happens here, just because it confused me as well. Is that once you leave the temple, Cloud is holding the black materia, and Barrett takes it out of his hand and goes, "What are you still holding this for? It's a fake anyway." And he just kind of throws it on the ground, and it lands on the ground and rolls and hits Sephiroth's foot.
Oh yeah.
And Sephiroth picks it up, holds it out and drops it, and then says, "Cloud, bring me the black materia." And I was like, you were just holding it. Like, why would you drop it and then say it?
It's a power play.
It's a power play for sure, but I didn't understand why he did that in that moment.
Here's what I think happened. When he picks the black materia up, which is what we think is the black materia, he holds it in his hand and it powers up a little bit, and loads of whispers, like it opens like a bit of a portal, and loads of whispers jump through that portal or come out of that portal into the stone, and then he drops it. So my opinion on that is that materia was just like the keystone to getting the black materia, and Sephiroth just uses this as a key to be like, okay, I'm going to charge the whispers to bring me the black materia now that I can open this portal. They all shoot out to turn this thing into the black materia, but Sephiroth can't take it because it's not whole, so he drops it immediately, and that's the black materia that Cloud has to hand over.
I guess it was odd. It was an odd scene because it was in his hand and then he dropped it,
Yeah.
And he's like, pick it back up.
yeah. Hey, you're my bitch now, Cloud. Pick up
but
this
it didn't
black
matter.
material.
I think it was more like, bring it to me at the Northern Crater. I don't think it was like, just hand it to me here. Is what he meant, because that wouldn't, like, Sephiroth can't activate it regardless.
Yeah.
Because he's not a physical being. He's just either in Cloud's mind there or in another robe.
Yeah.
The fact that the others could see him, I assume there was just more robed people around, and he took control.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way he's able to appear before everyone else. He can't do it in their minds. But it was great that Aerith finally was like, no, we can't have this Cloud. Like, we got to do something about Cloud. So she grabs it and runs off. And just the sequence where, like, he's going out to try and stop
the voice actor here was brilliant.
Yeah, like, he's gone insane,
and he's laughing. He's just like
Johnny out of the fucking what's it called?
But
Stephen
like
King
Sephiroth
book.
is like right over his shoulder as well, being like, "Get her! You have to like get this material."
The Shining.
Yeah.
That scene, him, and like he's running funny as well. You're like, you're running real strange as Cloud, and he's just.
I tried to do this. I tried to like turn and walk away from Aerith, but the game drags you forward, and he just slumpily like kind of like shuffles left to right, and you can't stop him from progressing.
Yeah.
And even if you lock yourself into like a kind of corner before you get onto the bridge area, the game forces him to walk through.
And I love that the developers like fully thought that through, because they were like, so many people who know what's going to come but don't want to let it happen, so they're going to try and turn back.
Which is what I did immediately. Yeah.
And I love that they just put a little effort into animating, like, nope, you can't turn back. Like, this is the destiny.
But there was a nice moment although like he takes the materia from Aerith and like he gives it to Sephiroth, when he looks back and sees that she's in trouble, like there's that realization where he breaks free and like he jumps to save her, like, and they both fall, which is great because in the original they both kind of fell there too. But it was just such a nice moment to see the real Cloud back for just a moment,
And this is where the game began to get really fucked up in terms of timelines, alternate universes, because when they fall, they wake up in...
Cloud doesn't, but everyone else wakes up.
Sorry, but Cloud wakes up in an alternate timeline that I guess there's
from
an error.
this exact point on.
From this exact point, he wakes up from the wheelchair that we assume is in Zach's timeline. We later learn
it wasn't
it's not.
Zach's timeline.
Yeah, we later learn it isn't. But he wakes up with Aerith, and Aerith just kind of brings him on a date, but she's in a rush. She's limited time, and I was like, what the fuck is all this about? Then you notice that when you're trying to buy the pack of crisps, it has a stamp on it, but it's a collie stamp instead of the terrier stamp or the
pug.
Oh man, it gets real deep. Yeah.
There's so many.
So I couldn't understand what was going on, but it's like it was just like Aerith just wanted Cloud for a date before she went. Like, that's all I could.
No, no matter what you picked, she gets the golden flowers as the gift. If you get options of what you're going to give Aerith, and the guy's like, oh, sorry, I only have one thing left, and it's like, oh, well, I wanted that one anyway, but it's the golden flower that Aerith gave to Cloud at the very beginning of the game, the first game, and it's the symbol of lovers reuniting. Yeah. So I love that was the gift she got in that sequence.
But it's just weird that how she was kind of like, I just want to go on a date with this guy before, because it all happened so quick, and it's real. You won't like it because it's very Crisis Core, because it really reminded me of the Aerith Zack dates through the sectors in Midgar. If you're hearing background noise, the cats are rolling around jiggly balls. But I thought that was kind of like, oh fuck yeah! So like this is kind of weird. It's like Aerith wants this kind of one last date because I wanted to see what it would have been like, and I was just didn't know what the fuck was going on for the longest time.
I didn't until she put the thing in my hand, and I immediately knew what was going on. And I actually broke down at the tears there, as though that was the moment that it happened.
And amazing that you say that, because that was the part where I felt the saddest, because when she hands him the materia and then pushes him into the timeline, the doors of the church open and Sephiroth comes in, and that's just the foreshadowing that no matter what you do, he comes to take her. Yeah. And I was like, that scene was just...
But that's showing the convergence of... They're saying all these timelines are joining back together.
Yeah.
So it just means that like whatever happened to create that other timeline is going to be undone.
Yeah.
In a very similar way to how it was supposed to happen anyway. Because they show that with Zack. Anywhere he goes, a squad of soldiers are always there, like to kill him in the way he was supposed to die. It's kind of like a Final Destination thing. It's kind of like fate is gonna catch up with you. Yeah. But it felt like in that moment that like Aerith had been hiding from Sephiroth and was finally able to do this thing for you, but he comes through the doors anyway. Yeah. And it's like, well, there's nothing you can do to escape.
No. And that was the first time, because when I saw that, I was like, oh, so no matter where you are, no matter where you go, Sephiroth like finds her or gets her. That was the first illusion I had to be like, I don't think we save Aerith in this game. But going on from there, because I can't remember the exact timeline.
So just, I don't know if you noticed as well, but just before she says goodbye to you, Cloud, she gives you the white materia.
Yeah, it's the thing that she wears in her hair.
Yeah, but the actual white materia. So earlier on in the game, like Aerith shows Red 13 the orb.
It's just empty.
And it's empty.
Yeah.
So in our universe, we didn't have the white materia, but Aerith pushes Cloud and he goes back to our reality and he has the white materia from another reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I think is amazing for multiple reasons. One, because Sephiroth has to do all this bullshit to get the black materia, whereas Aerith is able to just simply push Cloud through a portal and he has the white materia. So I'm guessing that because she's a Cetra, Aerith is way more powerful at traversing the life stream than Sephiroth is, because he has to do all this extra stuff. Like, he can't even hold the black materia. It would just fall through his hand, I'd say. That's why he has to physically get it at the Northern Crater. Mm-hmm. Whereas Aerith is like, here you go, Cloud. Use this.
Yeah. And we do get that line later on in the boss fight where and we'll get to it in a minute, but it's one of the best lines, I think, where Sephiroth turns to Aerith and Cloud in one of those final battles, and when he's looking at Aerith, he says, it looks like it seems I underestimated you. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's so badass. But yes, the game gets real confusing here, because after this point, we get like a weird thing where Cloud wakes up, and to me it seemed like the Cloud bodies switched. So when Cloud went into that world where Aerith was, she took him from like the sick Cloud, and the sick Cloud that was in the wheelchair went to his timeline, which is why he's so fucked up, afraid, is being carried. But yeah, so you skip, I guess, the whole Skullbone area, because we don't see
because they don't want to have they don't have enough time to let you explore and do side quests. So they're like, okay, we're just gonna kind of skip ahead of that. Yeah. It might still have its own area like in the next game.
The future, but like they did have homages to it. Like they had like Aerith while Cloud is in his dreamy state. You see Aerith walking between the trees, And like it's just like the Bone Town and the last one where like it's kind of like a maze. She's walking through one side and coming out a different side.
Yeah.
And then Sephiroth does the same thing in OG game, but in this it's just Aerith doing it. And then as Barrett's carrying you, you see some other little areas, like kind of like visual references to the area. So it's like you don't get to play through it, but you're being carried through it, you know?
Yeah, which I did enjoy.
Just before that, though, when Cloud is pushed back by Aerith back into the real world, Sephiroth is the first person who shows up, and he goes, "That doesn't belong here." Like, he sees the white materia in Cloud's hand, and he goes, "That doesn't belong here." And then all of a sudden, the Black Whispers attack Cloud, and Cloud's fighting them off, but then because Sephiroth just leaves, so he doesn't know what happens next. But then the White Whispers appear, and then Aerith appears with the White Whispers, and she's talking to you. And then she's like, "Thanks, Cloud. You can give that back to me now." And Cloud hands it back over to Aerith. And then he goes back into the real world, into the real forest. So I just think it's interesting that Sephiroth thinks that the Whispers destroyed the white materia. They didn't, but he definitely thinks they did.
Interesting.
Just an interesting little fact going forward.
Like a secret weapon, I guess, to use. So we go back to the team dragging kind of Cloud along, and he finally wakes up after going into the Forbidden Forest for a bit. You walk through there to get to the Forgotten City.
Yeah.
Which looks amazing from the scene where you come out and Vincent takes a seat to have a look down on it, and he's like, "Oh yes, the first city or the capital of the ancients." And
it looks gorgeous. It looks in that CG sequence. I was like, I can't believe they're animating this. Hopefully you get to walk around it in the next game.
Yeah, because you do get to go back. Yeah, you do get to go back, which is nice. And then we get down to you get to walk through it for a little bit, but you kind of have to head straight to the underground section. But this whole scene with the team letting you in, you actually have I think
it was just because throughout the game, not throughout the game, but at the so I always say this in movies, video games, in all sorts of things that aren't related to the real world. If there's a fortune teller, you listen to what they have to say, because fortune tellers are constantly used.
They're just a foreshadow
as all powerful things that they're. Every single time there's a prophecy or there's a fortune teller, they're always 100% accurate in every media that isn't real. And the very first one, like, because Kate Sit makes 2 predictions and then Cloud isn't happy with either, so he makes a 3rd prediction and then Cloud is like, "Oh shit." But the first prediction is, "Things are looking up, so throw caution to the wind, put your trust in others, and a last-minute twist may pleasantly surprise you." I've seen people say that last-minute twist was that you couldn't gain access to the Forgotten Capital, and the rest of the party members hold it open for you to get through. Mm-hmm. So that's supposed to be Cloud's first thing. The second one was just simply, "Watch your belongings. Lucky color, black." Now that's clearly the black materia, and the fact that like Cloud, it's being taken from, like, Barrett takes it out of his hands, but the third one, and this is absolutely devastating, and like throughout the game, I think earlier on in the game, Sephiroth also uses this exact line, that "you shall forever lose what you cherish most," and the final prediction is, "Seek and you are sure to find, but alas, you shall forever lose what you cherish most." And that definitely happens. But if you're a Tifa fan, you could argue it didn't happen. But if you know the actual events of the game, then what you cherish most was what you lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm a Tifa person, but I would 100% agree that that's what that is alluding to. It's Aerith, not Tifa, for sure. Going down to Forgotten City was so funny because the Temple of the Ancients was such a long dungeon. I finished up work and I was like, right, I got myself settled, and I started playing Temple of the Ancients about 6 o'clock, and by fucking 12 o'clock I was still in the, like, just finished Temple of the Ancients.
It kept going.
Yeah, but I mean, I enjoyed it all. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't a drag, but I got to the point where you are at the last save point before you do the moment of the game.
I can't believe you stopped there. I would lose my mind.
It was
because I was so tense for that whole thing.
It was like 1:45 in the morning, and it was like, this is going to be like end game Final Fantasy. So we're talking like freaking 12 rounds of boss fights and like 2 hours of gameplay minimum, and I was like, I have to go to bed. But I'm so glad I did, because I was able just to take my time with this next piece. But this is really where and Colm was texting me after he did this this section at the end, and I was like, I feel for you, man, because it's such a roller coaster of emotions, because we're all coming here, we know the big spoiler, like Aerith dying at the end of disc 1. And the whole question was, will you save her, won't you save her? But the whole piece is just, I thought in the build up to it was brilliant.
But there were so many little moments where like Marlene is like no, Cloud has to be there because he needs to save her, and like he doesn't get there in time, and you guys didn't do the date, but Red 13 is very much like, Cloud, we have to save Sephiroth, or we have to save Aerith. So it hurts all the more that you had all these foreshadowing moments where the characters knew something was probably going to happen.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I don't think, although you can argue that like he did save her in a universe, but not what the universe we're playing.
The exact same thing. Like you see him save her, therefore it did happen. But it's just in which universe did it happen? And then that Aerith is not necessarily the same Aerith that gave the white materia to Cloud to give to the Aerith of their timeline.
Yeah.
But like the idea is that there's one entity of Aerith that is kind of like Sephiroth in that sense, that she's self-aware of maybe multiple versions of herself and is able to kind of like plot to counteract Sephiroth doing the exact same thing. This is why the black and white whispers are like a fucking
either fighting off each other. Yeah.
Well, before going into all of that, because I very much think that this is a battle between Aerith and Sephiroth right from the beginning of Remake, because Sephiroth is doing things that he shouldn't have done at the start of Remake, but Aerith also knows things that she shouldn't know at the start of Remake.
Yeah.
So it's very much like those two have been plotting right from the very beginning. And that's why a lot of people think it's a sequel, because this is happening after both Aerith and Sephiroth died the first time,
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about like how it's a direct thing from Advent Children, essentially. Yeah, because they're dead.
And like the A View to a Smile, I think the name of the book is. But if you read just the chapter called Black and White, I think I mentioned this before, but it very much goes into the fact that Sephiroth is acting within the live stream, which is exactly where he was when Tifa went into the live stream, and you actually saw his. Now, he didn't have a physical form; that was just for us.
He stabbed her.
Yeah, but that shouldn't have happened. But he has. Like, we needed something to show that it was him, but he shouldn't have a physical form there, but he is there. Like, his presence is within the live stream right at the center there. So that was very much happening, but this book alludes to the fact that both Sephiroth and Aerith are acting from within the live stream. So maybe traversing time or going to alternate dimensions is part of something that they can do there.
Yeah. Just to make it wildly... the moment you introduce time travel, that's it. Like, in terms of confusion, and we get so much of that like coming up.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Advent Children link there as well. And to be honest, the way I see this whole thing panning out to make it all canon is that in the universe that Zack is currently living in, that Aerith will become the all-knowing Aerith. Let's just say the one that's going to like save the day. She's going to be with Zack, survive the whole ordeal. Cloud probably won't in their timeline. And then at the end of Advent Children, I don't know if it's when he's fighting Sephiroth or if it's when he is... Yeah, it's when he's fighting Sephiroth and Kadaj has just been beaten. And then it's Zack and Aerith in another space that you could have at the time perceived as like heaven or an afterlife.
Yeah.
But now, why would that be the case? Like, is it an afterlife, or is it just them in there?
He can converse through other timelines potentially, whatever else.
And that's I don't want to get to that part because it really pissed me off. But
but let's focus on the moments where Sephiroth came down.
Yeah.
And
can I give you my theory here?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go through? Or do you want to go through?
We just go through what happened there.
Yeah, absolutely. So he gets. This is what I was talking about with the haptic feedback thing, where you tap the controller. This is my favorite bit because you're marching up to Aerith. Everyone knows what's coming, and of course, Cloud at one point gets manipulated by Sephiroth, and you think he's going to attack Aerith in the OG. It happens in this game, but it's done so well because. And it's PS5, and I was like, this is so much fun. I was on the edge of my seat, and Cloud is up the sword, getting ready to attack Aerith, and you have to mash the top two R2 and L2 buttons as quick as you can. But because it's a PS5 controller, the haptic feedback can add strength to the triggers to make them harder to push, and that just gets harder and harder to do. And I was like, no, I have to save her, and I was like getting tired hands and everything. I was like, this is a wonderful addition of this thing into the game.
I just held the buttons. I don't know, were you meant to like keep hitting them over and over again?
When you did that, they got harder to press, which was a cool thing.
I didn't notice that at all.
But so then you come to the moment Cloud's able to snap out of it. We get a quick glimpse of that rainbow color when he snaps the sword away, which is, I suppose, giving you a sign that there's timeline convergence.
Or it's a red herring.
Just because you're at that exact particular moment in Advent Children, do you know the scene where because we watched Advent Children together just before the game came out, but where Cloud is driving towards to save Tifa, doesn't he have a flashback of Aerith is it the moment where Sephiroth is falling, he has that flashback of failing, and then is it Aerith in that moment where Sephiroth's coming down?
Yeah.
So that's the flashback. So that's like a little bit of like they're using that again. So like he, in his world, he might not have succeeded, but it's just, again, like it's a branch in which one universe, Cloud does save Aerith from this.
But does he save her in that little scene you're talking about?
No, so like when in he saves Tifa, but like it's in Advent Children, he saves Tifa, but as he's seeing Tifa get attacked, he has the flashback of Aerith being attacked. So it kind of spurs him on in that particular moment, having failed before,
to do better.
But then in this universe, it's the same thing. It's that moment happening, but then you have the split in timelines or whatever the fuck is happening exactly, where he does make connection with Sephiroth's sword, does deflect it, and in that moment there's like the sheen of like you have to say it's like another direction or choice in that timeline, because it happens a few times with Biggs later on as well. So like
the choices. Sorry, when we get into the deep stuff. No, we will get into that. Oh my god, because it goes so deep. But so we get that moment where Cloud is. You get to break free and you get to slice the sword at Sephiroth, and you go against it. So everyone was fucking cheering to be like, oh my god, we fucking save Aerith in this game, and you knock him away. But while that's happening, you get lots of kind of like double scenes kind of happening at the same time. Like, what's going on here?
You see the swords without blood, and then all of a sudden there's the little head shake thing, and then you see the blood there as well.
And so like a lot of people, I think differently, but a lot of people were like, okay, splitting timelines. And it's clear that in one timeline with the blood or possible one timeline with the blood, that Aerith did die. But in what we're watching, she potentially, there's no blood. She puts her hand up to Cloud to be like, you did it, or whatever else. And then,
but she's very ominous.
She's very ominous. And then Cloud lays her down, and in the saddest thing ever says, "I got this," and turns to Sephiroth to try and fight him. At the same time, the rest of the team arrive, and they see Aerith clearly from their vision. She's dead, blood and everything. And you get the Cloud going to attack Sephiroth, and the whole team coming together to fight Jenova. We get the moment where we get the sad music playing, the fucking holy materia dropping into the water, and the Jenova fight comes in, and it is the Aerith tune for a
while
until Jenova takes over.
It's like she's invading the moment. So I was like, oh my god, it's transitioning into the Jenova music from the Aerith music. I was like, that is brilliant.
So good. And the Jenova fight is unbelievable. It's so much fun. And what I love about this, and I'll get into my theory, every character but Cloud has the limit break. And when Cloud went into that fight, he wasn't like overly angry. He didn't seem like sad. He didn't seem to think that Aerith had died. Yeah. But he goes into that fight knowing when everyone else is going in a full rage because he's killed Aerith. And I love that little touch that everyone has a limit break except Cloud, because in this version, cat on the table. In this version, Cloud doesn't believe that Aerith is potentially dead here. And that Jenova fight, with all them coming together, the fight, that was just unbelievable. And then we get the big end game piece,
which is about, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 fights?
Yes.
And I believe they did that on, one, they want every one of your party members to have a bit of a battle, but they also want to show you that this Sephiroth is being battled across the multiverse.
Yeah.
So it's not one Zack fighting him in the church. That fight is happening hundreds of times, and this is Sephiroth destroying all those universes, like, because he's saying this is the convergence. Mm-hmm. So he's saying he's turned himself into this like godlike being, and he's going around destroying all the other universes to make himself more powerful. Now he doesn't succeed in the Paradise universe or the universe where Zack fights him alone. Somehow Zack beats him because there's this little kind of white light, and if you stand in that light, it protects you from Sephiroth's attacks.
Yep.
And for me, I was seeing that and I was like, what is going on there? And I'm just like, Aerith is somehow protecting Zack in this one timeline.
Yeah.
In only this one timeline, she's saving Zack from Sephiroth, and you can win the fight. But if you don't hide in that bit of light, you get fucked. Like you die. So I'm just like, there's more to this. So a part of me felt like by the end of the game, no matter how many timelines there were, I think we maybe only have 2 by the end of the game. The one with Cloud in the party, and the one with Zack where he survived the convergence.
This battle was quite cool because you talked about all those things coming together, but we got the Zack and Cloud moment. We made a prediction.
That wasn't earned at all.
So it wasn't, because we all made a prediction that I think it was myself and Kev had a prediction that Zack will fight with Cloud at the end of the trilogy. Mm. So we said that they would converge together at the end. It would be this build up for 2 games until we finally got them together in the 3rd game. Happened in this one. The fight was fun, but as you said, it wasn't earned. I didn't feel like the moment.
Like Zack, the game begins with Zack and he saves Aerith, and then he's, I don't know, fucking wiping Cloud's ass because he's comatose and like cleaning up after everyone. He's doing nothing, and then he's just in a battle with them at the very end of the game. Like he didn't get there through any sort of means by himself. He just teleported there out of nowhere. For pure fan service.
And that was, I mean, it was fun, but it was a little disappointing. But then we see that Sephiroth has the power to split timelines essentially, or realities. He puts Zack back away from Cloud because he doesn't want them to be together, and then the whole team come together, beat him. And you come back to reality. Well, we see a couple of timeline things, which we'll get to at the end, but I just want to get to the actual our main game scenario. The team come back. They're there. Aerith's very clearly dead, and they're all quite sad. And that moment is interesting because Cloud walks up then after the battle, walks up, and when he gets beside Aerith, he's by himself. He's put himself into this different world almost. And he's like, Aerith, wake up. And she wakes up.
Well, before that, there's the final battle with Sephiroth.
Oh,
which
Jesus,
is at the edge of creation.
Yes.
No, that is very important because that is the fight, I believe, that actually is happening in Cloud's mind.
Yes.
Like, that is the battle within himself.
Yeah.
You know, like the way it happens at the very beginning or the very end of Remake, and it happens at the very end of the OG game. Like, the final fight with Sephiroth, it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
And in that, it was really like Sephiroth's come to conquer Cloud's mind, but who should show up but Aerith? And like this real, like, I don't know if you switch to Aerith, but during that fight she's extremely powerful.
Oh, she's so strong.
Like, her attacks are doing double damage and stuff like that. Like, it's crazy how much better than Cloud she is.
But what I love about that, because I mentioned the line already, but when she arrives into that world, into that battle with Cloud, Sephiroth takes a turn because she changes the look of the Edge of Creation into this white room almost, and he turns back and he was like, you know, I made a mistake. I underestimated you. But it's the coolest thing to be like, yeah, Aerith's so badass. Fight's amazing, really tough.
I died 3 times on that fight just because he always uses Octoslash after he fires off those black beams.
Yeah,
and it just instant kills you.
The whirlwind thing where you
at the very end. You have to kill him before he gets out of that because otherwise you're dead essentially.
The 4th time I fought him, I just saved my limit break for when he was doing the black shit at the end, and I just killed him. I was like, thank fuck.
It's finally over.
I tried it so many times.
So after that, then we get to the bit where Cloud, they're all around the body, and they kind of clips away to some Zack stuff for a little bit, but then we arrive back at the team clearly at the lake, and of course the famous cutscene in Final Fantasy 7 is in the OG one is when Cloud takes Aerith's body out to the lake and she drops her body in the water, and that's the
which I bet did happen, but Cloud's mind is not remembering it. Like,
wait till I get onto my theory crafting, because that scene is so good for creating what is at the beginning of a real ominous ending for this game, in that everyone is so sad. They're all sitting there. Cloud's just kind of chilling. And after a while, Barrett's like, hey, we've been here a while, we should probably go. And Cloud, like, everyone's in bits. Cloud's just like, yep, sounds good. And like Tifa's like,
Barrett and Tifa give him the craziest
the fucker is wrong with you. But I love that scene where Aerith's there in every time Cloud is speaking to her, and then it clips away to Tifa getting up to leave with him, and Cloud's not talking to anybody, and he just smiles at nothing, and then they walk out, and I was like, that is, oh my god. So like, what is this good?
And every time you see Aerith though in those moments, it doesn't look like she's much darker looking. She looks ghostly, you know, like her appearance and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, I don't think that is a different timeline. I think that's just his mind fucking with him, you know, in our current timeline.
But no, I'd say it is somehow actually Aerith, because there's a moment
I think the
where
version that you see outside by the high wind is Aerith, is the one from the alternate timeline. But I think the one that we see with Tifa and Barrett, where Cloud is behaving quite weird, I think that's just a version of Aerith in his head that he's using to keep himself sane.
I doubt it. And the only reason I say that is because there's a moment where Aerith goes over to Red 13 and Tifa, and Red 13's comforting Tifa, and then she kneels or stands right beside him, and as she does that, Red 13 just goes, Aerith, and like looks around.
That's outside with the tiny Bronco.
I see what you're saying, but I think it's the same Aerith. I think both Aeriths the same. I like your idea because it's like Genova or Sephiroth taking over Cloud's mind.
It's mainly because Aerith is acting very weird, and she looks ghostly in those scenes. Now,
that's a goodbye, isn't it?
But the scene where she's outside in the tiny Bronco, I think that's fine, and that's Aerith. Like, she's even talking the way Aerith would talk. But the moment where Cloud was like, Aerith, get up, and then she does, like, she seemed ghostly there. I think that was the current timeline, but just that was Cloud's head.
So that'll get to let's rewind to that, because I think the whole thing about my theory about the Aerith that exists is that when Cloud is holding Aerith after she does or doesn't get stabbed. It keeps clipping back to 2 alternate timelines, and the one where she's bloody, there's a Cloud who's saying things but we can't hear it. And I think that's exactly what's happening in that moment. But Cloud is doing exactly what he did with the whole aftermath with Zack, and he's trying to be like, no, I can't live with this outcome. Exactly. So I'm creating a new reality for myself where she survives. And that bit where you see him mouthing, he's saying the lines from OG7, I bet you, where he's holding her being like, she'll never laugh again, she'll never cry again. And it's all actually happening, but Cloud's like, no, I am separating myself from this because I can't live without her. And Sephiroth gets annoyed at him at one point in that fight, and he was like, you'll never see the truth with clouded eyes. It's like Sephiroth's like, you're not taking this the way you should, like, because he wants Cloud to be filled with rage, and he's not getting that from him. But I think the Aerith so Cloud's made up the new reality, and he just thinks Aerith's alive. But I think the good Aerith is playing along with that because she can talk to him and keep him calm, because they can't afford for this Cloud to lose it, because this Cloud's way darker than OG Cloud. Mm-hmm. And if they lose him to he let Aerith go, he's gone. And he won't be around. So Aerith's trying to keep his mind together as best she can until Tifa can dive in there and save.
But a lot of people are saying that the ending, like, it took away, and to me it did a little bit, because like I couldn't be like sad or happy because I just didn't know what was going on. Yeah. So I was constantly like, wait, did she get stabbed? Oh wait, she's awake. Oh wait, she's fighting with me. And even my housemate walked in and was just like, oh look, she survived, because I was fighting with her during the final battle. I went, no, she died. And then she's like, but you're... Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to explain.
Yeah.
But she died.
And you were most disappointed with it, Colm, because you thought for a moment that we had saved her, didn't you?
I was playing the game, and I had like Tori beside me, and I was like leading up to the moment where you have the fight, or the moment where you go into the altar area where Sephiroth in the OG game drops down.
Yeah.
So I was like going into this, I was like, Tori, I might get really upset here, because like I'm hoping to God that she gets saved here.
Yeah.
And like I was just like crossing my fingers, like I really am, but obviously like she's supposed to die. But the game is throwing so many curveballs that like things are going to be a bit different, that I was really like, right, it could happen here. So she was watching that through with me, and then as like Cloud jumps up and like deflects the blade, I put my hand on her knee and I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And she's like, I'm so happy for you. And then all this shit started flicking around. I was like, oh no, Tori, I don't think she survived. But then Cloud's
like, wake up, and then she does. And then I was happy again, and then I was like,
there was too many fake outs with
so many.
And there was too many fake
outs. But I do appreciate it, because I know what happens next, and it makes sense, because Cloud can't just be an emotional wreck for the next part of the game. Even in the OG game, it didn't really make sense that they just kind of kept going with it.
Yeah.
But in this, he won't accept it, so he's going to pretend it didn't happen. But when the moment of revelation comes, it's not going to be Zack being alive, or that he wasn't Zack in the story that breaks him. It's going to be the fact that Aerith died that breaks him.
So that's why everybody was really upset that they didn't get the moment in the water and everything like that. But I think that when Tifa goes in to save Cloud, we'll probably get a little bit of the breakdown that like, no, you weren't Soldier First Class. But also to be like, Cloud, I know you've been talking to Aerith this entire time, but she's gone. And you'll relive the entire moment from start to finish as it should have been. That'll be what happens in part 3. He'll see him saying all those things while she's dead, and see him taking her out to the water. And I'm like, you know what? We didn't get the emotional buyout that we should have gotten at the end of this game. Yeah. But I'm like, it sets up for the possibility for 3 to deliver it even harder.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it'll be, because that's a really cool moment for Cloud in the normal game where he becomes himself. But he'll become himself, and like, I failed. It won't be like the same kind of savior thing. I'm so excited for that part. When I thought about it, because I hated the ending at first, and when I thought about it and thought about these aspects, I was like, no, the part 3 could be.
I still think it was poorly handled in that, like by the end, I almost like was desensitized to her death, because I just didn't know if it was real or not. Yeah. So I just didn't know how to react, and like I felt bad that it robbed me of that, because that was the most emotional thing in any video game I've ever experienced in the OG, and I thought it was going to happen here again, but because it had me on a roller coaster, I didn't know how to feel, and it robbed me of that. Now I do expect to get to it again in part 3, but that was the defining moment of Final Fantasy VII. And they failed. Instead chose to put it somewhere else. So I think it makes sense narratively, but they missed the mark, I think.
They could have done it so well. Like if they wanted to do the OG style and like go by that plot point, they could have made that iconic scene look beautiful.
Yeah.
Like they could have really, if they wanted to.
And I think they still will, but as you said, Greg, it's not in the right place.
It's not in the right place. Yeah. But it's going to happen at a pivotal moment.
It'll be a different emotional payout for us. Like it won't hold the same kind of grandeur that it did this time, but if they do it the way I think they might, it'll be a whole different kind of thing that we'll feel, because we're like, oh my God, like we will watch this guy who we've been playing as this character who's doubted that she died for like 50 hours in the next game before you finally get to the point where he discovers, and then he's kind of broken for the rest of it. But it'll build in a different way that you're like, man, this guy just he won't accept the truth, and then you'll witness him accepting the truth, and it'll be big.
And when do you think that part, so are we going on to maybe what we think will happen in the next game?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's a good, because
that'll be a good way to close it. Yeah.
What I think will happen is very different to what I want to happen, because I don't, do you know the way like when you go to a town and you're doing all sorts of fun things like snowboarding and shit like that?
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense for the characters in their current, state of minds to be doing that type of stuff. So I would I'd love for the game to open with the plane going over the northern, not the northern crater, but like there's a snowstorm and we can't get any closer. So let's park the plane here. It's not going to go down because they can't do that twice. So they'll get out. They'll get out in the snowy region and have to make their way up the mountain manually, and that's where they get to the icicle inn. I would like the game to just take place in that region of the icicle inn. What I think they'll do is they'll go to Rocket Town, and then Rufus will come over, and then he'll be like, we're going to Wutai, and then they'll do all that, and then they'll go, because they won't want the open world to, they don't want you to have the high wind early,
yeah.
That'll have to be end game in this. But for me, I would definitely go to the northern area, and I'd have the game begin with the party in a fucking snowstorm, and they have to land the plane, and then have them on foot from there going to the icicle inn, because not only will it be dark and gloomy, there'll be storms, but it'll really go with Cloud as a kind of more aggressive, darker character, and he's definitely going to have some extra powers from having that black materia in his weapon.
I immediately thought of you, Colm, when he put the black materia in the sword. I was like, that's right up Colm's street for like, just like badass kind of like weapon storytelling. Like the Buster sword just has the black materia, imbued in it, and I was like,
so I'd imagine that his like sword skills in the next game will be very brutal, with more like impaling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like to start off anyway.
Look, I know we're going about what we want in the next game, but look, just to reiterate my point that like the party members let Cloud away with way too fucking much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Between chasing Aerith down and taking the black materia off her, the Tifa saw that shit. Between like, almost looking like he was going to kill her multiple times.
Yeah. But that's why we should resolve this sooner rather than later. Like, don't go to Wutai and Rocket Town with Cloud being like crazy. It just won't make sense, if they just keep letting this slide over and over and over. I mean, they already got away with it in this game, but less of that, please.
You think it would just lessen all the characters, Colm? Like in terms of if they just let him continue to get away with it, like?
No, like they're like for plot reasons, they're just letting him away with absolutely everything. But he's endangered them all so many different times. Then at the end, not only has he endangered them all and is progressively getting worse at doing it, he's now vocally talking about Aerith like being okay while they're all in mourning, and nobody is like drawing this like detail. Like,
my favorite bit like that spooked me out, like as in like, oh, we've lost Cloud, like Cloud's gone, was when at the very end cutscene, the CG cutscene, when he's getting on the plane, he hears Aerith's voice saying, "Promise you won't look up." And he looks up and he sees the fracture in the sky, and he's like, "Nobody look up." And Barrett's like, "Well, no, I have to look."
No, I gotta look up.
And he looks, and no one else sees it. And Cloud's just like, "It's just an illusion. It's only there to scare you." And I was like, "This guy, like, if you were standing there as Barrett, you'd be like, the fuck is up with this dude?" And I love that, like, he's just getting on with it, But yeah, you're right. I think I would agree with you, Craig, in that I would love to have a dark Cloud.
I think we will.
Yeah.
But what I don't want them to do is just go to Wutai or just go to Rocket Town. And it's almost like the events of the last game didn't happen, because it should be very emotional for the next few hours. So I would be like, let's just go to the Northern Crater now and get this done, and then we'll explore Wutai.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff. And as soon as you leave the Northern Crater, you get the high wind. So like if they do that too quickly, you'll just have the high wind from the get-go.
Well, they could, because I think... the next part is going to be quite different from, like, do you know the way, like, Rebirth pretty much followed the exact trail. I don't think you're going to go to Junon and get the high wind right away. I definitely think you'll go to Wutai, you'll go to Mideel, you'll go to Rocket Town, You'll probably even do the fucking mission in space, and then after that, at some point, you'll go get the high wind, because they can't just let you go to any region before you've got there. No,
I'm sure they will. They'll probably make you go to some of the newer ones first, and then backtrack.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. We still have to explore Wutai, Middeal,
and you have to go back to Coral, and you have to do the reactor thing.
I think they do the same thing that they did in this game, in that, like, give it to us early, but we can't control it. So it's like Sid's piloting, like he did with the Tiny Bronco. The only time we got control of the Tiny Bronco to explore ourselves was at the end of the game. So I think they'll do the same thing, where it's like, okay, the plan is to go here, and Sid will be like, I can fly this thing and we'll go there. So you won't get a choice until the whole world is open, is how I think they'll do it. Because it fit. I liked how it fit with the Tiny Bronco. Like Sid bringing it to airport, I was like, I'm digging this. It's a cool new character thing. For me, I have a piece that I want right here at the end, which is why I worry about this whole multiverse thing, is that I have here written in bold, what was the point of Biggs? So
he was only there to serve, to show that there was more than two timelines, and that was his whole purpose. And I'm annoyed at that. I'm annoyed at that because there are too many. Like the multiverse thing was like, keep it at two timelines. I'm like, that's cool. But now we have this thing where it's multiple timelines. I'm like, no decisions carry much weight anymore. If there's like a gazillion other timelines where things are different, things work out better. So I was annoyed at that, and that's my worry for part 3, was where we got 95% of part 2 to be like a great game without the really crappy, weird story go bye essentially. But I don't think we'll get the same in part 3. I think that from the get-go, part 3 is just going to be weird, and I'm worried about that. Yes, it will be weirder. But that, again, that's why I want to just get all that craziness. The way you held it off for the end of Remake and the end of Rebirth, because the Northern Crater has to be weird, like you can't really have that being normal because of how Cloud's going to get broken down. So I would put it in the very first chapter. The way you start with a bang, the way you started Rebirth with a bang, the flashback. Well, this, just have us at the Northern Crater, just have us climbing that mountain, doing that stuff, and have Cloud fall into the live stream. I think it's also a very good idea when you have 8 playable characters to get rid of 2 of them early. Cloud and Tifa being gone, and that makes so much sense because those are the characters you played as the most.
And you'll have Sid and Vincent, so you'll be forced to kind of learn.
So
how
then
to use them.
You'll only have 6 characters for what, and it'll be the newer ones, So like, because even like Eric's gone, Tifa will be looking at.
Barrett will be the only kind of super familiar one from OG game. Yeah, that'd be a great way to do it. I mean, I think we'll probably have to do, when it comes close to do it, with the release of the third.
We have to have a proper theory.
A theory crafts, for sure. Just to go around, for me, I would say this is one of the greatest video games I've ever played. From a pure video game perspective, never mind the Final Fantasy VII stuff. One of the best games I've ever played. Maybe one of the best games I'll ever play, because just content-wise, start to finish, side quest, everything was just top quality. Like, I liked 98% of the stuff that was in that game. 2% of it was just mildly irritating at worst.
It may seem like we've loads and loads of gripes, but like, the game offers so much greatness. And because it's such a thing that I've been thinking about for so many years, these are only my own little things that I would plug in. But in so many areas, it blew my expectations. Like the how the music is implemented is next level stuff that I've never seen before. And the way you get versions that are nice and soft in the open world, but then immediately transition into a battle theme of that same song mid fight. Like,
the sound designers for that game were the absolute goats.
It's absolutely off the rails. And like we were saying, like, oh, you'd wish the open world had more detail. Yes, but they want to include everything. But like, if you play Skyrim, if you go like that's probably one of the biggest open worlds there is. But if you go to any town, every town has the exact same inn, the exact same layout.
On that same point, then, if you're in Skyrim, if you just go exploring, you're gonna find fuckloads of little like caverns and like dungeons.
But what I mean is,
everything
you'll
with,
see
like,
a lot of the same
items.
assets over and over again. Whereas in this game, they chose to wow us with every town. Like every town is completely unique.
Which blew my mind, considering what we got in like the first game in Remake. Midgar had so many reused assets across all chapters. Like it rarely was different.
Like everywhere looked like a slum.
Whereas in this game they had so many different biomes to create and created them so well. The transition from Corel into Gongaga had me so excited. I felt like I was walking into this oasis jungle. When the music like took off the moment you went in there, I was like, this. I remember
sitting
there.
Completely different biome. Just like, wow, we're in a deep jungle here with this kind of crazy.
The scope is outrageous and shouldn't exist. Like, the fact that they pulled it off in the game is as big as it is outrageous and shouldn't have happened.
It's as big as 3 AAA games in one. And yet they've crammed it all into this somehow. Like if the game had ended at Gold Saucer, we would have been fine with that.
And what's mad about it is, Colm, as well, like, or all three of us would know, Call of Duty sometimes takes up more space than this did. Like the game is just created to perfection, what they've done with it. Colm, I know you had some gripes, but how do you feel after Rebirth? Where does it rest for you in video games?
I would say, as a fan of Final Fantasy VII, it's an 8.5, like an 8.5. Okay. I don't think it deserves a 9, or definitely not a 10. And I think if I wasn't a fan of Final Fantasy VII, it's probably only about a 7.5, because it's fucking wild. Like, and I know, like, you might say that the gameplay is outstanding, and it is, but like,
but that's
imagine
not enough to raise it by any.
Well, like, imagine you got into a game, like, you can't give a game a 10 for having the most outrageously stupid story that, like, you can't make heads or tails of. Like, we are very well versed in the lore of this game, and we don't know what the fuck is going on. I know,
but the biggest games have the biggest problems.
Okay, but like, it's like saying to somebody who has played Kingdom Hearts non-stop, for him to explain Kingdom Hearts to someone who's never done it before, and then to make it more complicated for the like trying to like meet the appeal of old fans, but new fans are a little bit isolated because there's so much weird shit happening that like for them they'd be like, what the fuck is this?
I'm very intrigued for what our friend Niall, who's currently playing, I'm really intrigued.
That will be
interesting because he played through Remake and thought Remake was he did Final Fantasy 16. That was the first Final Fantasy he got onto. Me and Kev were like, man, if you enjoyed that, play Remake and you'll know what we've always been talking about. And he played Remake and he was like, I love the combat in 16. I've never played anything as satisfying as Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm very interested to see how we come out of this game with this story on top. It's like, where do you sit with this?
He will love the combat, and like the combat is great, and that's not at all the problem. It is like when it comes down to the story beats, he doesn't know what happens really, but he has heard spoilers and so on. I guarantee you, he's going to be like, so like, the fuck? What? Like, it's going to be Sephiroth. He won't. I'd say he'll ignore the Genova element, and he'll be like, "How's Sephiroth doing all this?"
Yeah.
And it's just for someone who's not coming in well versed in the franchise, I think that they've really isolated it to like just be niche. Like by niche, it's people who have played the games over the last fucking 30 years.
But I don't think
whatever.
like I have more understanding than Niall will have, because it seemed like they threw so much shit at the wall in those last couple of chapters that like nobody's gonna guess what's going on. They're all gonna guess wrong.
Which is it's the challenging part of this game, because when Remake finished, we all those of us who were diving deep were like 2 timelines. Yeah, we think there's 2 timelines, which was fairly concrete and proven to be right. I have, like today, before the podcast, I was checking out videos of what people thought it meant. Everything differs so wildly, and like people have like similar theories to what what you guys said today, but like it's all like, maybe that'll happen.
It's all conjecture. Like, everything could be wrong, and some things could be right.
And the game
ended, go in millions of different ways.
Yeah, the game ended on this, and I'll leave it on this note. But the game ends with no promises await at Journey's End, which to me was like, don't expect anything to happen.
Definitely predicted that.
The way it's meant to. Yeah, the game's going to get really weird towards the end.
No, I said like that'll come on in the end credits immediately for sure.
What that quote?
That song, yeah.
Oh yeah, but the fact that quote came up on the screen, and I was like, it just means that part 3 is just going to be like, even us fans won't have a breeze. But I think if you're like me and you made your bed with the fact that the story was going to go off the rails and just enjoyed the game for the journey, you're going to have a blast. And even with how wacky that ending was, I have never had as much fun playing a video game as an adult as I have played in this game. I have laughed, I have gotten sad, I've just enjoyed it immensely. I have felt like the biggest badass. I have listened to some of the greatest music, not only just in video games, but some of the greatest music that exists today. And I was like, this is all in one package, and it's massive, and it just keeps giving. And it's a 10 out of 10 for me, without a doubt.
Yeah. For me, it's a 10 out of 10 as well. It's not a 100% by all means, but it's a 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
Just because it's pushed the boundaries so much more than any other game that's come before it. Like, and even if you're not happy with those last 2 chapters, you still got 100 hours of brilliant gameplay and pretty solid story work. Because it's just pretty much, let's chase this guy and kill him.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough there that you can grasp what's going on until like the Temple of the Ancients. I would definitely dock a % for not having loadouts, especially after the first game didn't have that either.
Oh, material loadouts, yeah.
And because I haven't done hard mode, so my review is based on just normal mode, which I think is fair because that's 100% 120 hours. That's already a long enough game. But now I get to do it all over again on the hard mode. But I don't like the idea of having to swap characters and swap all their materials, you know? Like on dynamic difficulty, it was fine because I just gave red fire and I gave cloud fire. But on hard mode, I need my magnify and I need synergy and I need all these spells which only have 1 or 2 of them. So I can't just give one to everyone. I have to switch that stuff out. And it bothers me that I'll have to unequip one materia at a time.
I guarantee you Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 will have that. Because
we thought 2 would have that.
Well, but 2 solved, I would say, 99% of the problems that were with 1. And I think 3 will solve 99% of the problems that we had with 2, and I think material
that's still 0.5% out there.
Unbelievable game. I guess we'll finish up that gauntlet here, fellas. Colm, thank you so much for your input.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Craig, I could keep going for hours, of course.
We could just talk.
But we'll get back together for a theory crafting episode. To our listeners, hope you enjoyed this triple thread of Final Fantasy 7 review. Let us know what you think. Go into patreon.com/thegiftofgamingpodcast for any extra content. And until then, as always and forever, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.